Good evening, and welcome to this 10th anniversary celebration of the Lumen Pavilion. I've got a little bit of a frog in my throat. Lumen means intellectual and spiritual light, and is so fitting as a name for this place that has been a space of solace, of warmth, of joy, of learning, and of light for so many over the last 10 years, and God willing, we'll welcome so many more in the years to come. When people ask about this place and the people who work here, I often talk about the Truett Center for Religious and Spiritual Life and the Center for the Study of Religion, Culture, and Society as the heart of a vibrant organism. In a beautifully functioning exchange, we spread the light and love of religious, spiritual, and ethical cooperation, resources, learning, engagement, and participation across campus and into the wider community. And we foster the circulation of the wisdom, ethical engagement, empathetic response, respectful dialogue, and thoughtful cooperation emphasized by the world's great and learned traditions throughout the body of Elon, enabling our community to grow, not just in mind, but also in heart. I believe that daily we honor our own varied understandings of the divine through the work that emerges from the Lumen Pavilion. And as we pause this evening to reflect on 10 years of the crucial work that has occupied this space and the 10 years of the beautiful relationships that have grown out of this space, I believe it is right and fitting that we start at the beginning and honor the land upon which this Lumen Pavilion and indeed this very university were built. And as we honor the land and its importance to us, we must also honor the first curators and stewards of this land. And so in that spirit, I am humbled to be able to unveil this plaque to my left, which will have a permanent home in our lobby and reads in the words of the Tribal Council. We would like to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Ino, Tutelo, and Saponi, Occaneechi, and Shakori Native people. We are gathered today on land that was traditionally part of the territory of the Saponi people in the Piedmont of what is now the state of North Carolina. This area is not far from the great trading path used by both the native people of this area and non-native peoples during the early years of contact. The Saponi people, whose descendants include the Occaneechi Band of the Saponi Nation Indian tribe, still thrive and live in this region, officially recognized by the state government of North Carolina. We pay respect to their elders past and present, the Occaneechi people, the Yisa, ask that you will keep these thoughts in mind while here on their ancestral lands, and that you will treat it with the respect, love, and care that their ancestors did, and as the Occaneechi Saponi people do so today. With the same care that we honor and respect the land upon which we stand, we also honor and respect the many people and communities whose essence and energy define this place and have so for the last 10 years. I am always humbled when I see the cooperation and truly the love as it is embodied. I can only describe the emotion as pride when in a recent meeting of the Protestant Ministers' Council, Reverend Julie Tonneson, our associate university chaplain, meets each month with leaders from the various conservative Christian organizations on campus. Fellowship of Christian Athletes, InterVarsity Campus Ministries, Campus Outreach, and Young Life. And they were working together to determine how to provide support and outreach effectively, but importantly, collaboratively, to areas of the campus that have historically been less engaged with religious and spiritual life. The energy and the focus in the room were on how they could leverage their cooperative relationship and individual resources to collectively hold as many people across campus as possible. This was ecumenical engagement in its finest form. And I have served on enough university campuses and in enough religious spaces to know that despite what is hoped for, this is not always how things work on the ground. And then recently, I was able to attend the welcome dinners for the Muslim community, the Jewish community, the Catholic community, and the Protestant community during orientation week in August, and gatherings for our religious communities over this past family weekend. And I heard from so many parents and students alike how they appreciated being able to connect with each other during their time on campus, and how important it was to them to be able to come to a space where they could engage with others around a shared common identity point. The word that I kept hearing was welcomed. We felt welcomed. Another of our finest moments was celebrated last fall when we hosted a dedication of the Ark lovingly handcrafted by Father Peter Tremblay, Associate Chaplain for the Catholic community, to house the sacred Torah scrolls for the Jewish community. In honor of that moment in the history of the Numen Lumen Pavilion, we are unveiling a second plaque this evening. And it reads, "This holy Ark was designed and built with esteem and affection for the campus Jewish community by Reverend Peter C. Tremblay, Associate Chaplain for Catholic Life. This Ark holds the Elon University Campus Torah Scrolls. And this plaque will be mounted next to the Ark, located to your left in the nook here within the sacred space. As you will hear from our reflections this evening, the Numen Lumen Pavilion is a special place. But there is no secret ingredient in the recipe, just love embodied, respect demonstrated, cooperation enacted, and ancient wisdom and traditions engaged and honored. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you to Chaplain Boswell and the leadership team in the Truett Center for creating space for this reflection of 10 years post the launch of this facility, as well as the strategic efforts on campus that realized much of what we benefit from today in terms of our religious and spiritual life, as well as the Center for the Study of Religion and Culture and Society. Those daily efforts are truly launching that vision into action into our community every day, providing the Numen Lumen that Reverend Boswell was sharing with us. So it truly is a beautiful space, and it's also a space where personally I have the privilege of engaging with students and faculty and staff around a sense of purpose, no matter what that is rooted in, but that search for meaning that happens in this room and upstairs and across campus and other spaces that we've dedicated for the intersection of the intellectual and spiritual light that Numen and Lumen represents. They truly are our guiding lights as a university, and you can feel it in the university ethos. I also want to express this evening just the immense gratitude to the many donors, friends, and members of the Board of Trustees, those that are present today, and then also those whose names are all throughout our facility. And every now and then I come across a new name, and I'm like, wow, they dedicated resources to what we get to experience here in the pavilion. Truly that commitment that has helped bring this into a reality. That generosity is at work in so many aspects in the physical and the spiritual space that we're in. I also want to just say hello and a heartfelt thanks to Reverend Jan Fuller, University Chaplain Emeritus, during her distinguished tenure at Elon, which I know from our farewell when she was sharing it ended up being one of the longest in the nation to have a chaplain serving for her tenure at Elon. And her leadership was pivotal in the expansion of the programming and the strategy and the vision behind. So deeply grateful today for that leadership. And also a special thanks to Chaplain Emeritus Richard McBride. So that he inspired the McBride Gathering Space that is named for him. But it was his commitment to spiritual life at Elon and thinking in a multi-faith mindset that really our campus began to understand more fully what a space like this would mean and could do. I also want to thank the late Bill Sharp. We're fortunate that with Jan that we're able to understand more about who he was and his contributions to our community, certainly a legacy that still is present in the work of the Truett Center. And when I'm out talking with alumni, many mention Bill Sharp and the difference that he made to them. If you think about the meditation room named in his honor, it's really fitting space for lasting tribute to his contributions. And then finally tonight, I wanted to recognize the steadfast leadership of President Emeritus Dr. Leo Lambert in bringing this facility online and working with so many to listen and understand what would be important in this work. And also, Leo became a national voice working with Eboo Patel on the importance of multi-faith work on our college campuses and continues to be a champion for this as an essential part of growth and the opportunity to have this as part of a collegiate experience, that critical age of 18 to 22 and being able to have this as part of that journey. It truly has become those programs and the work underway has truly created space for dialogue and understanding among diverse faiths and cultures, and has been a great teacher. Even we had last year a humanist, and I said, "What's a humanist?" And so they were explaining to me what that was, and so even I have personally benefited, just from the continuing learning that goes on, and it's truly a centerpiece, and in so many people, in so many voices, that faith journey that we know is often the seed of personal transformation. So as we look forward to the next decade, let us continue to see this space as a cornerstone on campus for peace, for understanding, for spiritual growth. I'm excited about the new vision in the Multi-Faith Strategic Plan 2.0 and what that's going to bring to our campus, and look forward to supporting those goals with all of our faculty and staff. And students. So thank you all for being a part of this evening.
Well, it's a joy to be back with you to celebrate 10 years of this amazing temple of learning and spiritual home, which is, of course, the envy of spiritual leaders nationally. It's been a fast 10 years, I have to say. On a sunny day of May 2012, that's how long it seems, this building was finally rising from the red mud after a very rainy spring. Steel girders alone shaped the building. I put on a neon green construction vest and a white hard hat and stepped into what is now this space and into the basket of a red cherry picker. It probably has another name, a construction name, but I don't know what it is. The project foreman powered it up, and we rose into the air to the oculus above you, which was at the time a steel-rimmed hole in the roof. I blessed the space for all religious traditions and attached a laminated sheet with symbols of the world's spiritual traditions in the oculus right up there. and it remains there, embedded in the building, covered only by drywall and paint, describing and motivating all we do and have done and hope to do. Shortly after we opened the building, we had meetings with Muslim families from Burlington interested in opening a masjid. We laughed and dreamed and prayed and built an interfaith network in Burlington that celebrated then the opening of the Burlington Mosque and gathered around to protect it when the atmosphere got tense. Justice and friendships. And at our first Eid celebration in the building, the prayer leader invited students to pray with the community, and several did. Afterwards, as I was cleaning up, 2 students remained at a table, heads together, clearly sharing deeply. I learned later that they were roommates who had never in 2 years shared about their different religions before that night. The one who had prayed in the line that night felt for the first time that she understood what she was doing when she joined in her own Christian prayers. Prayer and friendships. And one evening, a group of students at a table planned an iftar. Jewish students in the kitchen cooking overheard their plans and offered to cook dinner for the breakfast during the unusual conjunction of holy days for both, food and friendships. I have memories of the staff studying each other's sacred texts, sharing the riches of our traditions, asking questions of each other, and all the informal conversations we had in offices or in the hall or by the copy machine. We were professionals learning and bettering each other. Work and friendships. You know, friendships change the way you see spiritual practices. They make it personal. They create respect. This place, the events taking place here, and these people show that the world is small and connected, that the eternal spirit is bigger than we had imagined, and that we can learn and grow and make the world a better place. When you make friends with someone of a different religion, you begin to mend this broken world. So let it be then, for many blessed decades.
Good evening. Lovely to be here today. My name is Samira Foster, and today I have some sentiments from the heart to share with you all. As I think about the Numen Lumen Pavilion, the image of a revolving door comes to mind, one that limitless, beautiful souls are drawn toward, perhaps seeking peace, pause, or purpose, but leaving with a cup overflowing. Not only is the gift of mindfulness bestowed to those who are willing to receive, but also an outpouring of love is given to those who are willing to receive, cultivated by passion-filled people who truly exemplify heroism in maroon capes. Or at least that is how I, as a bright-eyed first year, came to recognize the amazing individuals that comprise the Truett Center family. For me, the Numen Lumen Pavilion is synonymous with home, a place where I could let my guard down and simply come as I was, a place where the human desire to be seen and heard never went unaddressed. For this reason and many more, I have no shortage of core memories here. And when I exited the revolving doors as a graduating senior, I knew I was that much more equipped to share my gifts with the world because of the meaningful relationships that fostered my growth and nurtured all that I was becoming. As I find myself having the opportunity to re-encounter the majestic energy that radiates from this space, I consider myself blessed to be a blessing. So when inquired to speak today, I simply want to share that this place is love personified. These people are pillars of light, and this legacy irrevocably exudes the riches of life. Thank you.
It's good to see you in this space. On your way to a classroom on the second floor, you can see a lovely portrait of Virginia Richardson Truitt, for whom the Truitt Center is named. Her 6 daughters graduated from Elon in the 1940s and 50s, and one of them, Edna, married an engineer and inventor named Douglas Noyes. 2 of my artificial knees are my connection to Doug Noyes. He invented the prototype for the devices that have been implanted in my body. And his patents for these and other things brought significant wealth to that family. So the Truitt Center was endowed with a $1 million gift from Doug and Edna Noyes. And here's how that happened. 20 years ago, the spring issue of the magazine of Elon, and yes, that's Desmond Tutu, he had just been here. 20 years ago, this spring issue of the magazine published an article titled A Matter of Faith, based on interviews with students and religious life professionals about the spiritual questions that students were asking in these years just following the 9/11 attacks in New York and the Pentagon and Shanksville, PA. Is there a safe space, students were asking, to explore the deep questions about my purpose in life? What do I want to live for? Am I truly connected to the faith that my family bestowed on me? And how am I to understand the variety of faith traditions that this university presents to me? Edna Noyles, who had been a marriage and family counselor and later became a spiritual director, read that article and sent word to University Advancement that she would like to support the spiritual life program at Elon with a major gift. So I was commissioned to write a proposal for funding. I wrote 4 pages outlining my dreams for a comprehensive program here at Elon. And I think those 4 pages went through about 6 edits as I sought feedback from Nan Perkins, who was the vice president then for University Advancement, and Smith Jackson, who was then the vice president for Student Life. Finally, we were finished, and the proposal was sent to Edna and Doug, and plane tickets were purchased so that Ms. Perkins and I could visit the Noyles in New Haven, Connecticut. They sent the check before we went. Well, you know, it wasn't really a check. It was a transfer of stocks. But in any case, our trip gave us the chance to meet our benefactors in person and to express our profound gratitude. But here's the best part: the mandate that accompanied the money. You know that people who donate large sums of money wanted to accomplish something. And here's what Edna said she hoped that their money would accomplish. Listen to the breadth of this mandate, inviting us to dream big and build deep foundations for years to come. Edna said, "I want students to learn more about their own and other faiths." Is that happening here? "I want them to live lives of reconciliation." Is that happening here? How wonderfully broad that mandate is. She would be so pleased to see the multi-faith work happening here. She would be so pleased to see the reconciling work on the personal level, which she once expressed as accepting people for who they are. And she would be pleased to see the work of reconciliation at the macro level, what the Jewish tradition calls tikkun olam, repairing what is broken in our world. So, blessings to all who work and pray here and ask big questions and dream worthy dreams.
When I arrived at Elon in 2014, I quickly realized that many people on campus were already accustomed to referring to this new building not as the Lumen Pavilion, but as the Truett Center. I always tried to make the correction with a laugh rather than a scowl because I knew that one of my main tasks in my new role as the director of Elon Center for the Study of Religion, Culture, and Society was to help shift perceptions about what multi-faith at Elon might mean, to include serious study and substantive academic engagement. In July of that year, I moved into my new office not in the Religious Studies Suite or some other space aligned with academic affairs, but upstairs, here, in the Numen Lumen Pavilion. My hall neighbors were a rabbi, a priest and his ministry staff, a Baptist minister, and a part-time imam. And interestingly for me, they weren't data. They were my colleagues, my collaborators, and my friends. Working as a scholar and faculty member in this space has given me the opportunity to quietly make the case through programs and campus partnerships that academic success, intellectual discovery, and critical thinking are by no means antithetical to spiritual growth. To the contrary, They are themselves important modes of spiritual growth for our students. Whether it's in courses offered by talented and compassionate professors or through research conducted with a dedicated faculty mentor in programs like the Multi-Faith Scholars, when students undertake disciplined inquiry into their own or someone else's values or worldviews, they are also learning to see themselves in the context of a complex world. They are habituated to humanizing the other. They are forging the values and principles that will guide them the rest of their lives. The Numen Lumen Pavilion is a bricks and mortar expression of the distinctive idea that at Elon that a student's personal development and well-being, their cultivation of values and commitments, is all of our responsibilities. It's not farmed out to chaplains or passed off to student life. The Numen Lumen Pavilion has been a place where this bold idea that disciplined multi-faith learning, interreligious engagement, and personal growth support one another, where that idea has come to life. I'm grateful to my colleagues here in this building and faculty and administrators across the campus who have contributed to the realization of that ideal.
Thank you to our musicians and to all who have given reflections on the meaningful relationships that have grown out of this space over the last 10 years. And thank you to those whose creative visioning, hopeful imagining, and concrete engagement led to the creation of this space that opened 10 years ago. And to the work of the Reverends Bill Sharp, Richard McBride, Reverend Dr. Jan Fuller, and Dr. Brian Pennington, who've shepherded the programs that have enriched this work at Elon University. Many thanks to Dr. Leo Lambert and to Dr. Connie Book, and the many trustees and friends of this university who made and continue to make these necessary departments and programs possible. We are truly blessed to be able to call the Numen Lumen Pavilion home, and here's to another 10 years of active engagement on this campus. I thank you for joining us this evening and hope that you will stay and enjoy food and fellowship with each other, and many blessings to you all. Thank you.